Hi, I'm here under the Flinders Street clocks in Melbourne with Dub FX and Flower Fairy. Guys, how's it going?
Awesome.
Really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you. Nice weather here. It's a nice sunny day in Melbourne. Don't get too many of them.
No.
So you guys are doing an East Coast tour, playing at the Hi-Fi in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne.
Correct.
And you're also going to be doing some busking out here in front of the clocks. Which of the two do you normally prefer? I mean, playing the actual shows or out here and busking on the streets?
They're both good for different reasons, and we like doing them both. I like doing them both equally.
I think street performing allows you to be a bit more
Free.
experimental, free to do what you want. You can kind of think, the demographic's a lot wider.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go to a club, people are expecting club music, or depends on what's been scheduled for
And
the
people
night.
who go to the club usually are there to see you, whereas people on the street are just walking past. So you get, as he said, you get a big demographic.
Yeah. My favourite, I would say, is the in-between, which would be festivals.
Oh, yeah.
So outdoor festivals where you've got that kind of street vibe because everyone's running around, maybe getting drinking or whatever, and then they're also there to dance. So that's kind of like the happy medium
And
of the
even
two.
busking at festivals is good.
Yeah, that's fun as well.
Yeah, it's great. Now, you've become a bit of an internet sensation. 70 million YouTube views of your stuff. You've released records, including live in Manchester, live in the streets of Manchester.
Live in the streets of Europe, actually.
Europe.
But Manchester was a lot of it.
A lot of it, yeah. And how have you taken to this sort of success?
I started street performing in the UK. Before that, I was in Australia and I was performing in jazz bands at weddings. I was doing hip-hop and metal bands, reggae bands, funk bands. I was actually hosting and emceeing along with breaks and house DJs as well. I was just immersing myself in as much music as I could. And then when I decided to go traveling, I thought I had written all this solo music and I was wondering how I could perform it live without having to take a band with me. And so originally I actually had a backing track and I guitar and I would sing and play to that. And then I saw someone using a loop station and I'm like, I knew I could beatbox a little bit, and I'd already been playing around with effects pedals over my voice, which is pretty much 50% of my show is the effects that I put over my voice to create as bass lines and delays and harmonies and all that stuff. So it was just a matter of putting it together and just woodshedding on the street mainly, just going out and performing and learning what crowds bounced off and what, as soon as I started doing music that I appreciated for myself, like rather than trying to please an audience, that's when people started buying my CDs, and it just kind of spiraled upwards. I started getting YouTube kind of came along and people put me on YouTube, and then I started getting booked in countries that I'd never even heard of, and all that. And so it's kind of like, it's just been an upward sort of movement from there. And then I met her very early on as well, like in Manchester, about 3 weeks after I first started street performing, and I asked her to help me sell some CDs, and we just started hanging out, and that was it. That kind of history turned itself into something.
Well, I've been watching some of your clips on YouTube and can see you in the background looking at a few CDs as well. But that's one of the things I've been wondering about the beatboxing. Is it something that you can just fall into, or it's sort of you've got to be gifted already, or it comes naturally, or it's something you really have to work at?
It's just hard practice, like the street. Before I started street performing, like I was pretty crap at singing, rapping, and beatboxing. I wasn't very good at either of them. Obviously, I'd spent a lot of time working on different music and understanding music and having an ear for it. But as far as being a good performer and an artist, and having any talent, that came from just loads of hard work, loads of street performing. I mean, I never practice in my bedroom, I just practice on the street. And I think that is the best way to chisel the fat, because you're practicing in front of an audience. And if people don't stop and don't watch you, then you're learning, you know what I mean? And if people stop and watch, you're learning as well. It's like, it's all really good.
Exactly. I mean, they're going to be probably your harshest critics, because they're either going to pay attention to you or just walk on by.
And they give you their money if they like you. I mean, it's the best way to practice, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, now you've played gigs in Europe, and you've also done gigs in Canada and the USA, and you're down here at the moment, and also New Zealand you've played too. What are your plans for 2013 moving forward?
Well, actually, this is more of a rest year for us, to be honest. I mean, we still got to pay the bills.
It's a recording year.
Yeah, I've got to make a new album. I mean, my album's long overdue. I haven't really made an album for about 5 years, a solo album for 5 years. We recorded a non-patronising children's album for her, because she stars in that one, and it's more all these nursery rhymes remixed, and the album's called Nursery Grime. You can get that from our website. I've also made a dubstep album, which was more with another producer. It was a very electronic, very eclectic, very jazzy, very moody and stuff. But an actual dub effects album, as people wanting and needing, that I haven't made in like 5 years. So that's going to be made this year.
it's a work in progress right now.
But having said that, we're still going off to the US. We're doing Coachella in April, and we've got a couple of dates across like festivals around Europe, June, July. And we just did New Zealand. We'll probably do some more New Zealand at the end of the year. We got to pay the bills, you know what I mean?
Exactly, that's right. Well, the album's available on iTunes, the electronic album that you were doing, and more stuff to come. So fantastic! Thanks for having a chat. We look forward to watching you performing out in front of the clocks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No worries,
Take care.
and
Thank you, Red Sky TV.